Welcome back, Wargamers! Today we are going to review two alternate methods of evaluating the siege of Gaztelu Mugatik, the fortified town in my fantasy role-playing campaign. The city itself, or the town, it's not really a city, it's just a town, is a walled town, and it was attacked by a large force of undead and bandits and humanoid monsters. And in the full-scale chainmail style battle, the city fell rather rapidly, only in 10 turns. So we're going to go ahead and check out two different alternative rules or methods for interpreting the events of this siege. The first one you can see here is the method in Tony Bath's book, Setting Up a War Games Campaign. And so what we've done is set out all of the relevant statistics. We have a walled town, which has 40 strength points, and a garrison of 200, which is what we had on the board. There is also a third-class fortress, which is the Wizard's Tower, or Witch's Tower, I should say, which has 60 strength points and a garrison of 100. We kind of mashed those together for the 290-something soldiers that were inside the fortified town, which gives a total of 400 strength points. And then for the attackers, we had 290 Darklings, which is 145 hit dice. And I'm going to make an equivalent of hit dice and points here, because that's what we did here. There were 300 hit dice worth of guards inside the town. There were 50 Skarn with 2 hit dice each. There were 300 human undead with 1 hit die each. 160 bandits and some additional leveled characters for 186 hit dice. And then there were 30 Meeplecop undead. The Meeplecop in my setting are jackal-headed humanoids that have their own land and their own civilization, and they are the enemies of mankind. So they had 60 hit dice. Those have 2 hit dice each. So that's a total of 791 total strength points. Plus there were 4 wizards on the board on the attacker's side for another 18 hit dice. So that gives the attacker a 2-to-1 advantage. And if you roll a d6, we got a 6. And that means the position was stormed, the garrison was lost, and the attackers lose the same strength, which is 400 hit dice, which you see up here. There's only a 2 in 6 chance of gaining the position on the first roll. So there is a chart in the book, and that chart basically, if you roll a 1 on that chart, it's called a bloody repulse, and the attacker loses 50% of the garrison strength, and the garrison loses nothing. On a 2, both sides lose 50% of the garrison strength. So in both of those results, the attacker would lose 200 points, and on a roll of 2, the garrison would also lose 200 points and be down to only 100 points of defenders. On a 3 or a 4, both sides lose 25% of the garrison strength. So on a 1, the attacker, which is a bloody repulse, the attacker would roll again, and if they get a 1 or a 2 on that second roll, they will retire. And on a 3 to 6, they'll sit tight in their investment, and no further attacks can be made until they're reinforced. Now, this particular chart, there are half a dozen charts for various levels of conflict. There's one chart for 3 to 2, and then for 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, and 5 to 1, in terms of how many attackers outnumber the defenders. Obviously, if the attackers do not outnumber the defenders, according to the Tony Bath system, they would not have any chance of taking and seizing the fortification. Now, if the undead and their humanoid allies had decided to just invest the town, that would require some siege engines, which I did not bring in this battle. Because it's just a fortified town, they don't really have any siege engines available to them, nor did the enchanter bring any siege engines of his own. So by extrapolation from the table, because this is kind of a smaller force, it would take 2 weeks simply to cause a breach. And then after the wall is breached, the fortification points would no longer apply. So your attacker would still have 800 points. The defender would only have 300, which is not quite 3 to 1. However, it does reduce any losses. So for instance, if they rolled a 2, both sides would lose 50% of the garrison strength, which is now only 300. So they would lose 150 hit dice each. So that would definitely have an effect. And the effect that we got in the full-scale battle was definitely a high roll on that chart. Now, for the next iteration, we're going to go ahead and use the Proto Fantasy Grid combat rules. And so what we've put together is 300 hit dice of defenders. Basically, one stand that you see on this little mini board here, one stand is 50 hit dice. So the defenders within the walls of the fortification, there are 6 stands representing light infantry, and then one stand representing medium infantry. That one stand we did not include in the Tony Bath version because they were mercenary guards guarding the Merchants Guild headquarters within the city, and they took no active part in the actual defense of the city. However, they need to make some sort of roles that I need to do with an interaction with the actual patron running the enchanter who attacked the town, so that I can find out whether they are able to negotiate or parlay and escape from the town. So the attacker, again, 791 hit dice. At 50 hit dice per stand, that will equate to 16 stands. So we're going to have 3 stands of Darklings in the light infantry, and so that'll be these little single fellows here, and a third one here. Then we have the human undead. There are 300 hit dice, and they count as heavy infantry. And so there'll be 6 stands of those, and they'll be represented by these horsemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I made these minis. These are Lord of the Rings Risk minis that I painted. I made these specifically for doing a playtest at the Carnage Con back in November, and I just made enough for that particular playtest battle, and I don't have enough really to do this properly, so we're going to do a little bit of proxying, and I will definitely be painting up some more of these so we can have more of these style battles in the future. The bandits, there are 4 that would be classed as light infantry, and those are what you see here, these stands with 2 infantrymen on each of them. The Skarn are 2 hit dice creatures, humanoid creatures, and there's 100 hit dice of those, and so they'll count as 2 of these monster stands. And then the Meeplecop undead also have 2 hit dice. There are 60 hit dice of those, so we'll count that as this one, this particular monster right here. We're going to use the combat resolution code, which is the number of dice that you'll roll for each combat. The Darklings, the light infantry, will have 2 8-sided dice that they'll roll for combat. The human undead will roll 4 dice. The bandits will roll 3 dice. And then the Skarn and the Meeplecop undead, all of the monster stands you see here, they will roll 6. And we're using D8s because there is a little bit larger spread, and it allows for us to have some more modifiers if we need those. So I'm going to slide this over here so we can roll the dice where you can see them. Like I said, the combat resolution number, that's the number of dice rolled. And a 6+ is the basic casualty score on the D8. So if you roll a D8 and you get a 6, 7, or 8, that will be a casualty. The walls of the fortified town will be able to take 8 damage, and the tower itself would be able to take 15 points of damage before suffering a breach. And my concept for the fantasy grid rules, especially for this type of skirmish level combat, will be that the combat resolution number will encompass its attack, its defense, and its morale all rolled into one abstraction. And I'm also looking for this to be able to operate at multiple levels. So you've got your skirmish or platoon level, your company or regiment level, and then your regiment/army level. So there are different ways that you could look at this and still use the same mechanics to play it out. And then for the official game itself, we're looking at having 5 different types of troops. There'll be skirmish troops, which will be missile troops or scout troops, light infantry or archers. The heavy infantry and light cavalry will be combined into one category. They'll have a CR of 4. The heavy cavalry will have a CR of 5, and then large monsters will have a CR of 6. So if you were to be fighting a skirmish level, then this particular monster would count as 1 monster with a combat resolution of 6. So for this particular battle, any of the creatures that are attacking other creatures inside the fort will have -1 to their die roll. The defenders inside attacking back out will add 1 to their die roll. So the defender or the attackers will hit on a 7 or 8. The defenders will hit on a 5, 6, 7, or 8. The shaman character, which is this one back here, the magic user, that stand will represent all of the magic users on the attacker's side. And like I've mentioned before in previous videos, there'll be 2 levels of magic users. There'll be a shaman level with a combat resolution of 3 and a sorcerer level with a combat resolution of 5. And so for the purposes of this game, their spells will simply be destructive spells that can be used against other stands or against the structure itself. Because there are no siege engines, only the magic user stand will be able to physically damage the structure. And we'll roll D8s for them as well, and their hits will be applied. Now, as it is a fortification rather than a field defensive system, we will go ahead and apply a -1 to their die roll when they're attacking and trying to make a hit. But like I said, any success that the magic user stand gets will take off 1 hit, as it were, from the combat resolution to defensive points of the fortification. So that's where we stand with that. So let's go ahead and get those dice out, and we'll roll for Nish. All right, so we're about to roll for initiative. I just put out all of the dice for the assorted combat resolutions for each unit, for each stand. And obviously each time they take a hit, this combat resolution die will spin it and they'll go down. These dice up here will represent the 6 units of guards in the tower, and then these are the blue ones are the light, and the green die will be for the heavy. So let's go ahead and roll a niche. The blue die will be for the defenders. And we got 3s, so we'll roll again, because I don't like to do simultaneous. All right, we have a 6. So the defenders will get to go first. So these three here will be able to attack outside, and those are your light infantry, so they have a combat resolution of 3. So each of them will roll 3 dice, and on a 5, they'll be able to strike. So we're gonna 1 here, number 2, second roll here, and then the third roll there. So moving from left to right, we have 2 7s, which is going to be enough to take out these darklings. The guards in the center versus the undead. A 7 and a 6, that'll be 2, so they'll be able to do 2 damage. And the guards on the right, they have a 5 and a 6, so that'll be 2 more damage, and they'll take out these darklings as well. So, already in our first turn, the darklings have suffered serious casualties. Now, the undead at the gate will be able to attack back. They will need a 7 or 8 to hit the guards inside, and now their CR is down to 2, so they just get the 2 dice. And that's a 5 and a 2, so they will not cause any casualties. All right, so that'll be the end of our first turn. Well, that's not quite the end of the first turn. I did forget that our magic user, our sorcerer, needs to go. He's going to roll 5 dice in this magical attack on the fortress. These 8 counters here are going to represent the strength points of the back wall, which at the current time is the only one he can attack. So, an 8 and a 6. So he gets 1 hit because he's attacking a fortification. And then that will be the end of the first turn. So for turn 2, we will roll initiative. And this time it goes to the bad guys. Once again, the undead in the front will make 2 attacks. They need 7s. They do not get any. The sorcerer will roll 5 dice. He gets no damage either. And then the defenders get to go. These 3 here will make their attacks. At this point, they can now all attack this front undead unit here, and they need 5s. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is going to wipe out this undead unit here. And that will be the end of turn 2. All right, for turn 3, we'll roll an ish. And the defenders get to go first. And they don't have anyone that they can attack, so they will simply prepare their defenses. The undead will move up to the gate, as will these creatures, the Skarn and the bandits. So now we have a little bit more of an attack available. The undead will attack first with 4 dice. And they'll get 1 hit. The Meeple Cop undead here will attack with 6 dice. And they get 3 hits, which will take out this unit altogether. And that will allow the bandits here. They don't have anyone they can attack, so they are going to be out of luck. The wizard, the sorcerer back here will make his attack on the walls. And there are no hits there. Now, the guards inside do get to battle back. This unit will be able to fight back against those undead. They need 5s, they don't get any. And so that will be the end of turn 3. Turn 4, initiative goes to the defenders. These guards are going to move into this position here. And then we'll start doing our attacks. Those guys will make their attack against the bandits. And they get 3 hits, which will be enough to eliminate the bandits. The guards in the center will attack the undead. They get 2 dice. They get a 5, so that'll be 1 hit on the undead. And then these guards, they are adjacent or diagonal to those undead, so they'll be able to attack as well. They get 3 dice and 3 hits, so that will take out these undead altogether. And then finally, the sorcerer will make his attack. And he only gets 1. So he's done 2 damage to the fortification, which is really not enough. And unfortunately, the troops attacking at the front, at the gate, are suffering badly. So I think what's going to happen is for turn 4, the bad guys across the back there are going to go ahead and attack. But in any case, I still have these undead who can fight the heavy infantry inside. They roll 6 dice. They need 7s or 8s, and they just get 1. And so that'll be the end of turn 3. I'm sorry, turn 4. That'll be the end of turn 4. And now for turn 5, we'll roll initiative to tie. And this time the attackers get the initiative. So these undead will move up to the gate, and then the rest of these forces are going to move up and begin to attack the fortification itself. All right, so for attacks, we are going to go clockwise, starting at the bottom with the undead. We'll get 4. And they get 2 hits. So that will eliminate 1 stand of guards. The monstrous undead will roll 6 dice. They don't get any hits. The Darklings on the side will roll 2, and they get 2 hits against the Heavy Armored. The Skarn in the back will get their 6. And they'll get 2 hits. The Undead in the back will get 4. And they'll get 1. And that will eliminate this unit. And then our bandits get 3 dice. No hits. And then 4 dice for the final undead here. And that's 3. So they will take out another guard stand. Now, as I said, the combat resolution number includes the morale. So we won't be making any morale checks for these folks in here. Their morale is included in this score. So now the Guardians inside will get to fight back. So we have 3 dice. Again, we'll go clockwise this way. And they need 5s. We'll get 2 hits on the Undead. The Heavy Infantry are down to 1 combat resolution. They get a 6. That'll be 1 hit on the Meeple Cop Undead. And then this 3rd unit in the back, they have 3 dice. They are going to go ahead and attack this unit of Skarn. And they get 2 hits. Alright, and so that will be the end of turn 5. Once again, we shall roll initiative. And it goes to the defenders. So, starting in the bottom right, 3 attacks upon the undead. 1, 2, 3 hits. That will remove these undead from play. The heavy infantry, they are down to 1 attack. And then they get a 6. So the Meeple Cop Undead lose 1 more. And then the third unit within the fortress gets 3 dice. A 5 and a 7, that'll be 2 hits on the Skarn. I'll take them down to 2. Now, for the bad guys to move, we'll move 1, 2. And then these fellows will attack with 3 dice. A 4, a 5, and a 7, so that'll be 1 hit. The undead get nothing. The darklings get nothing. The Skarn in the back, a 7 and a 2, so they will do 1 hit. The undead, the top left, they get 1, 7, that's another hit. And then we'll say that the remaining 2 units have no one to attack. So that will be the end of turn 5. And as you can see, the tide has turned now that we've surrounded the fortress with bad guys that there's more casualties coming around. So that's the end of turn 6. Turn 7 initiative. The guards get to go first. This guard will attack those bandits. A 1 and a 3, no result. The heavy infantry here will attack the undead, ineffectual. And in the back, they will continue to attack the Skarn, and that's a 3. So completely ineffectual attacks from all the guardians this turn, this turn. So, bandits. They need a 7 or 8 to get 1. All of the guards inside the fortress are down to 1 CR. The Meeple Cap Undead, they have an 8. That will take this one out. The Darklings have known to attack. The Skarn attack. A 1 and a 2. The Undead in the back, top left. 6, 4, 4, 2. No. All right. So again, that will be the end of that melee round. Or turn. We'll call it a turn. Melee turn. Need to work on my vocab for this, I guess. Once I get the rules settled, it'll be a little bit easier. All right. Initiative. All right, the bad guys get to attack first. 3 dice for the bandits in the bottom right. And they got a 7. That will take out this unit. There's only 1 unit remaining. They can be attacked here by the Skarn, and that's an 8, and that will take them out. So, after a grand total of 8 turns, the fortress has been conquered. At the cost of the entire garrison. And then we have we're going to go ahead and count up our casualties, and we'll see how it matches up with Tony Bath. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Okay, so we have 3 of the human undead, so that's 150 hit dice, and then we have 3 of the human. Well, I'm sorry, these are darklings, so that's another 100 hit dice, and then 50 more hit dice here. So a grand total of 300 hit dice lost in assaulting this fortification. Which, if we go back and look at the Tony Bath. If we rolled a 6, that would have been 400 hit dice that would have been lost. So doing it this way was A, a little faster. It was only 8 turns instead of 10. And B, the attackers lost fewer hit dice worth of troops. Now, being as this was a campaign-style battle, that's really important because these troops, generally speaking, you'll roll for these, and 50% of them will be actually dead. 25% will be able to return for the next battle, and the other 25% will be wounded, and they'll miss a battle. They'll miss a whole weekly game turn. So that's where we are with that. I think that went pretty quick, pretty smooth. We're at 34.5 minutes here. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think this went smoothly. However, I do want to go ahead and try this format of battle again with siege engines. And I did build some. Hold on. I did scratch build some little catapults. So we have 4 of these, 2 for each side. depending on how you want to do a battle. I may go ahead and make some little bolt throwers as well. That might be fun. But generally speaking, obviously these will represent larger numbers of siege engines, and I will probably rate them at a 5 CR as well. Potentially able to do quite a bit, perhaps six against a fortification, and then maybe a 4 or a 3 if they're used against troops. So that'll be something to think about. If you have any thoughts on that, please leave a comment down below. And once again, thank you so much for watching and paying attention. I really appreciate it. And also thank you to everyone on Twitter and in the Substack who have taken the time to reach out and make suggestions and comments about these battles. So have a great week and keep on gaming.